And I think we're live, Aaron.
Hey, 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 hey. What's up, everybody? What's going on, David?
What about you, Aaron? We had to miss last week. Unfortunately, you had, I know you did have some issues. You needed to, Liz DM was doing stuff. Oh,
yeah, she was doing an, are we live right now? Yep, there. No, I don't see us. Well, there might be a delay.
I always make that mistake of leaving a speaker on the other channel.
Yeah, me too. I hope that one's not on.
Well, I can't hear, I don't think. No, I think it's fine now. I think we're right.
I hope not. I don't want to get up and go move it.
Welcome, everyone. We're just in pre-show. Let me just bring out this banner just so that we know where we are. And we're just going to have a little bit of a chat because we missed last week because Aaron had to do some videography with Lisdian actually, so we couldn't get on last week. So she had a bit of fun that she was doing, some streaming. Yes. So we're back again this week. But we were lucky we even got on this week because Aaron had a couple of hard drive problems which have been fixed.
Gosh, it's crazy. I have hard drives like I have several hard drives in my computer because I do all kind of stuff. And over the years, they start, dying on me. So I just use the next one. I what do you call it? Clone over to the next one and get rid of it. And they just keep failing on me because they're all about the same age. So it's kind of funny. So I redid it all, got it all up and running, and here we are. Now
we've got a few in, but Gilbert was saying, let's party. Gilbert's ready for a party. He's late
party
over there
time,
too, and he wants to party.
Time.
George said, waiting for the delivery of my pre-order 28 to 200. Well, we're going to unbox this, George.
Yes.
You know how this has been killing me for the whole night because I thought I wouldn't unbox it until today when I'm on with Aaron because I thought, well, why? I'd leave it so we can both do it together. But so it's killed me. So I've got it there.
I know.
Waiting to go.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Bless your heart. I couldn't have waited. I just ripped it open and started taking photos.
Where are we? Gilbert said, how could I miss the party as well? So Nevak said, greetings, got here before the first downvote on the video. There probably is one already. Who knows? No, there's not yet. Give it time. We'll get some, I'm sure. Well, I hate it when it does that. On a Max, I think it's this magic mouse. Every time I do it, it makes the screen go large. It blows the screen up, which can drive me nuts.
It's called a NAS. What are we talking about?
I'm not sure.
Oh, wait. I don't know. I forget.
Sean said, I'm early for once, so Sean's here. Who else? George is saying, have you had a chance to shoot? No, George, I haven't even got it out of the box yet. So we're going to look at this together.
Still sitting in the box.
Yeah, we're going to have a look at this together. Now, I'm taking it out on Friday, so I'll explain all of that once I start to unbox it, what I'm going to be doing on Friday, because I'm going to give this a real test for you guys. So I'm so excited about it. Jeffrey's here from sunny Brisbane as well.
Yeah, I saw that. Hey, what's up, man?
What else have we got? Arthur's saying, Rod, greetings from southwestern Ontario as well. What else did he say? The screens say, waiting for David Oster. Imagine my surprise. I love it. Jeffrey said, David, it's clear from the cover photo you shop in David Jones for Milo and your lens. I know, it's just that I picked it up there yesterday. Not from David Jones. I met actually a Tamron rep, so...
Oh, I saw you in a mall, right?
Yeah, I met them there and we went and had a coffee. Christy, she's a lovely lady. So cool. We picked up the camera there. We sort of met halfway because where they're from is another 45 minutes from there. So we sort of met halfway from my home to there, and then we had a coffee and had a chat about, all the Tamron lenses that are coming out. Oops, shouldn't say anything.
You just blew it, man.
No, just kidding. I haven't got any more news. I asked, but they wouldn't tell me. They don't tell me anything, not until it's released. So, and then I knew about this the other day, but you're on NDA, so you can't say anything anyway. So it's quite funny.
I'm trying to change stuff up here, guys.
Mike's also here as well. G'day, Mike. How are you? Good to see you in here. John is also from the UK as well. So John Daly is here from the UK. What's Gilbert saying? All part of the hype. I love it. Jeffrey, Carl's also in here as well. So Carl Ryans is here. Jeffrey said, I think he's trying to sell us Milo. Next time I pick up a Sony, I will understand the craving for Milo. Well, I'm going to be back on the beer once it warms up again. I think we're only, 17 today, I think. 17 Celsius. It is winter here.
It's very hot here. You guys can probably hear my air conditioning in the back.
No, it's not too bad, actually.
good.
Carl said the video quality is degrading on my end. Yeah, well, it looks all right from here, looking at the live there. So who knows? I mean, whatever YouTube does, it does. I heard yesterday there were some issues in the US with a, what do they call it? A DOS attack or something. So perhaps it's still struggling from that sort of stuff.
Oh, how weird.
Yeah. What's up, my friends? Joe's in here. G'day, Joe. Good to see you here.
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
I don't think I could do it from here, actually.
I'm trying to log into this iPad here so I don't have to look so far over. I got to verify stuff.
So just added Joe as a moderator in the group. Geraldo is watching from Costa Rica, so welcome. Mike also said he had problems. I had a magic mouse in my house who suddenly disappeared. I hope you did it humanely, Mike.
It disappeared.
Yeah, I know. It cracks me up. I won't read through all of this. I'm just sort of trying to say hi to people that are in. So, howdy from Texas. Freeple also said. We've also got KSPEC is saying hello from Canada.
Hello,
Frank
Canada.
is also here saying hello from Orlando, Florida, or is it Orlando, isn't it?
I'm done.
Florida. How about VC image and stabilization? Well, I'm pretty sure this hasn't got stabilization. I don't think it has. I'll have to let you know, but I don't think it had. I'll have to look at the specifications. Like I said, I haven't even looked at it yet. Let me just have a look and see what it says on there. Yeah, I don't think it has stabilization, but I'll let you know. I didn't find that was a problem with the 70 to 180 though, so I don't think it's going to be an issue with this either. You just have to be conscious of your shutter speed. Like, just don't go ridiculous in your shutter speed. Remember, all of your Sony cameras have IBIS in them, all the latest ones anyway. So I don't think it's going to be an issue that it doesn't have IBIS. If it had IBIS, it would be more expensive and it would obviously be a lot bigger as well. And that's the beauty of this, because I believe it's almost exactly the same size as the 28 to 75. So we'll look at that in a second. I love it. Let's crack that white box open next to you, David. All right, so let's do it. So Michael's here as well.
Hi, Dana.
Gene is here, and Dana's also here.
Oh, I didn't know he was from Florida.
Yeah, Dana's from Florida. All right, so.
Oops.
Now let me have a look. So this, like I said, I haven't opened this, so we can have a look.
Are we starting the show now, David?
Yeah, we are. So we're going to go straight to the Tamron.
Okay.
Let me just take off that banner just so that we can. Oh, it was taken off.
I got to make sure I put my times down.
So let's open this up. Now, I've got my Tamron 28 to 75 there just so I can show people the exact size that this is. Let me open this up.
It's going black.
All right.
There it goes.
So here we go, guys. This is it.
Don't be like that one guy who opened the first iPhone first in line and he dropped it on the floor.
I
don't know if you've ever seen that.
So obviously just your instructions and stuff like that. Now let me see if I can get this out without destroying, because this does have to go out. But I probably, next time I do a trip, and who knows when that will be.
Yeah, right.
I might buy one of these. But I'll let you know that once I test it, because I've got to make sure that it works for me.
I'm sure it's going to be amazing.
Well, the interesting thing is, Aaron, I don't think there's anything that can compete with this in this range, which is the 28 to 200, and it goes to 2.8. That's the interesting thing. So let's open it up and have a look. I'll do the Jared sniff test.
I was gonna say something, but I said, maybe I shouldn't suggest it. You did it anyways. Oh, that's too funny. What's it smell like? Tell us.
So,
what's it smell like? Plastic?
Ooh, it smells like. I don't know, actually. I can only smell my aftershave.
Toxins.
Yeah, it smells like toxins. It smells. It's got this sort of sweet smell, but I think that might be me.
Get a room, bro. Oh my god.
All right, so let's first let me put the lens cover over this, because I'd like to compare it immediately to the 2470. All right, so this is the 2875mm here, and this is the Tamron 28 to 200. So if I put them side by side, they're almost exactly the same. It's a fraction different. Let me take the lids off and I'll show you without the
yeah, those are pretty close, aren't they?
So if you look here, I'll try and mount the bot. There's that much difference in the actual height. Very, very little, like incredibly different. So, and weight-wise, I'm just going by how they feel exactly the same to me. They feel like they're both about exactly the same. I suppose if you're going to zoom it out, though, obviously there's going to be a big difference with the 28 to 200 due to the fact that, you know, you've got that barrel that will come out.
But it's nice they'll stack in a similar size case, you know?
Yeah, and the great thing is that I can put the 67mm filter on this as well.
Yeah,
so that's beautiful. Now, the only thing really that it's got on there is a lock switch, which will stop it from creeping down. Now, that's a really handy thing because sometimes if you're carrying the lens around, you don't want them to creep out, which it can. So, you know, that's something as well that you've got to think about. So at least it has that aspect on it. Like I said, I'm pretty sure it won't have the stabilization because it's going to be the same as the other lenses that are out there, but that doesn't bother me in the least. Like I said, I've found that the Tamron lens quality is outstanding. Like I said, if you look at the 28 to 75 that I've got here, that looks as good as the day that I got it, and I've had this well over 12 months now, and it looks amazing.
Crazy.
Yeah, and this is exactly the same sort of build quality, same type of material. In fact, it feels really nice. It just feels like I'm holding the 28 to 75, Aaron. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, that's really nice. Now, the great thing is with this, if you want to check more about the specs, you can go to my last live that I did last week, and I took everyone through this lens. So I'm not going to do that again today. So you can go back to my last live and check that out. But I'm really excited about this lens. And when we spoke yesterday, let me just get rid of this 28 to 75. When I spoke yesterday, they think this thing's going to sell like absolute hotcakes. Now, it's only $750. I shouldn't say only, but it's $750 US. Now, I think in Australia, it's around $900, $1,000. It's around that mark, which for a travel lens is brilliant. Now, my thinking with this is that what I probably would do is have something like this lens and then take a nice wide-angle prime with me as well. This would be the thing I'd be thinking about. I do like to shoot often in really low light. So I think what I probably would tend to do is I would have this with me for my the normal sort of general type photography. And then if I want to go low light in the evening, I might have even my GM 24, the 24 1.4 mil GM, or I could even carry the other Tamron lenses like the 16 to 35 or something like that. But I think that probably this is why I'm saying I would love to have taken this to the US when I had that trip.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, I know you also love your Tamron as well.
Oh, yeah, I use it for everything.
Let me just see what people are saying. What's the aperture?
I use that lens for everything, man. I mean, it's just...
Yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. Now, the aperture, what's so good about this is it will go from 2.8. This is why I'm saying I don't think there's anything else out there like this.
That's crazy.
So it's 2.8, but it does change fairly quickly as you start to zoom up. So it's 2.8 at 28 mil. And then I believe it goes to around about f3 the second you go to 35 mil, and then it moves up and it ends up being 5.6 if you go to the 200 mil. So it's really quite usable. So if you did want to use it in very low light, at least you have a 2-point mil if you want to shoot at the 28 mil end. And like Aron and myself often shoot higher than that anyway. It's really good. Now, I believe from the charts that I've seen, it's incredibly sharp. Now, I've been told that they said to me that they were astonished how sharp this lens actually is, including up to 200 mil. They did tell me that there's a fraction of vignetting around about the 100 mil mark. And like I said, I'm not going to hold anything back to you guys. I'll always tell you what I'm told or what I find. So
as you do.
Yeah, it's... it looks like there may be a fraction of vignetting, but I don't mind vignetting because sometimes I often put it in. So for me, it's not a problem.
Vignetting.
Yeah. So I'll let you know how that is. I'll shoot it through the whole range. Now, what I'm planning to do on Friday when I test this, I'm also going to take the A6400 because I'm going to... I want to try it on APS-C as well because I know people are really interested in using APS-C, and this could be an amazing lens for the reach if you put it on an APS-C type camera. I'm just seeing what that camera.
One thing I'm kind of curious is like the 28 to 75 at the 50 millimeter mark through my test is the sharpest. Once you deviate from that, it gets a little softer. It probably gets softer. It gets its softest at 75 millimeters, which is still actually pretty sharp, which is pretty interesting. So I'd like to see where if that gets softer. I know you just said it's sharp at zoomed all the way out or in, whichever way you go with that. But I'm anxious to see if it has the same characteristics.
Well, someone told me, I looked at the chats the other day, someone read the charts when we did the other live show, and they said that the sharpness at 200 mil was quite incredible for a lens of this type. It's got the same silent motors that are in the other lenses, so this is going to be a very good video lens, I would say, as well. I'm interested to see how well it focuses. Now, what I'm going to do on Friday, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to shoot a lovely model, but also I'm going to do a dance video at the same time. So I'm going to use this for video as well as stills and also using the A6400. So I'm going to give this a real true life test. You know, I mean, it's going to be based on exactly using it as you would use it for travel. I'm going to go down the Great Ocean Road and take some shots like we would be using it if you were, say, going on a travel or something like that, or a holiday. So I'll use it for multiple things. It does also do almost macro. It's 1 to 3, so it's not 1 to 2 like the 28 to 75 is, but you can certainly get close enough to fill a flower at the front and things like that. So, you know, it's really got, I think it's probably going to have everything that you need for travel in sort of pseudo macro. You've got a 2.8 aperture at the wide end, going to 5.6 at the 200 millimeter lens. So I think it's going to be a really, really interesting lens, Aron.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I said, if it's the same characteristics as that 20 to 75, I mean, that's two lenses. That's like the only two lenses I would actually need, and maybe like a fast, small prime, you know?
Yes, the original said I would pay more for a 2.8 to f4. 5.6 is the only deal breaker. That doesn't bother me. 5.6 doesn't bother me at all.
Me neither. And also, usually the longer the lenses you get, the harder they are to use inside. So typically you might be using them outside because you got the room, and typically you have enough light. Of course, if you're in a wooded area or you're doing certain stuff like that, but then also like wildlife. But then does a lot of people shoot at f2.8? I'm not sure. I guess it depends on the camera and how fast it focuses. But I would think you'd stop down a little bit maybe on wildlife. I am not a wildlife photographer. But typically I think it's fine for most purposes. But I think people might want to maybe think about getting that over an f1.8 prime lens or something. So, you know, then you're going to be missing out on that blur factor from those other lenses. But for me, and like you said, David, I'm typically stopping down. I like the whole face in focus and everything else soft. I don't know if I'm doing that today, but I do like to have the whole face in focus. So for me, with that type of compression and stuff, I think it'd be fine for me anyways.
Well, 5.6 at 200 mil is still going to throw the background out of focus.
I mean, I've talked about this before. Separating someone from the background doesn't mean there's not like an extent of how much blur you need to create the separation. It only needs to be a little bit out of focus and your subject completely in focus to have a separation. It just, it's up to you if you want to just smear everything or not, but you don't need a whole bunch of that. Now, certain backgrounds do require more. Don't get me wrong. I've had very few shots that I had with that Tamron 28 to 75 at f2.8 on full frame, where very few shots where like, yeah, I wish it would have been a little blurrier back there because it was just a little busy, whether it was sticks or trees or something. So, you know, I do get it. That's why you got to need to know when to use faster apertures, or at that point maybe switch lenses or something. So, but I like the lens. I mean, if it works good, it sounds pretty good.
Well, Nevak said, what are the likely downsides of this lens? Variable aperture, large zoom range, good initial impressions, lower price. There has to be some kind of downside. Well, really, the only two downsides that I could think about is the variable aperture could be a downside if that's going to affect you. Like if you want a 2.8 all the way through an f4 like the Sony lens that I have, the 70-200, it's an f4 all the way through. There's no stabilization. Could be a downside, I suppose, if you wanted to handhold this with video. I don't think having, as long as the camera has IBIS, I'm quite comfortable with just upping the shutter speed a little bit. Like I said, the 70-180, I had no issue with the lens not having stabilization at all. I mean, it obviously would help if it has it, but there has to be some limitations or what they can put into a lens at that price range. When you're dealing with something that's $750 US, you're getting a 2.8 at the wide end. So yes, it has got a variable. So that could be a consideration if you wanted to use the long end in low light. So that is going to be a feature there. But this is more targeted at a travel lens. So this is what this really is aimed at, is for someone that would like to go traveling, have the bare minimal type of gear with them. Like I said, you could easily travel with just this and just another wide angle prime, because 28 may not be wide enough sometimes, and it also may not be, it is 2.8 at the 28, but you might want something a little bit faster as well if you're going into real light. Or it might be that if you shoot mostly primes and you want to do some stuff at night, you could take this and say a 55 1.8 as well. You know, something that would give you that ability to shoot very low light if you needed it. But you know, having 2.8 at the 28 mil, you've got, it's only f3, I think, it might be 3.2, I can't remember, at 35 mil. That's really quite usable. I quite often shoot at 2.8, like when I shoot the Tamron 28-75 like Aron does, that's a constant 2.8. And I really very rarely ever get into a problem where low light causes an issue with the latest cameras due to the high ISO that you can shoot now. I mean, what do you think about that, Aron?
Well, 20 is for, I've always tell people when I shoot wide angle lenses like 20, I prefer 24 just because of the, you get a little bit more distortion than you get with 28. So it brings a little more juice to the photo. But I can definitely get away with 28. But anytime I'm using those wide angle 28 or 24, and I've never, man, I think in the last.
Oh, Aron's come back.
Am I gone?
No, you're right back. You're back now, Aron.
Oh, the last time I had a wider lens than a 24 millimeter was probably like I think it was like an 18 millimeter. I had it for like a month, but I don't typically go wider than 24. Anyways, when I use wide angle lens, I'm typically stopping down anyways, because when I'm using a wide angle lens, it's usually in an environment where I want to have everything in focus, or if I'm shooting a model from low up, I want, you know, I don't want just her face in focus and the rest of her body blurry. I want the whole. So for me, I'm usually shooting at f2.8 if it's low light. If it's not low light, I'm shooting at f5.6 or f8. So, you know, 28 millimeter at f2.8 is more than enough for me. On my Tamron 28-75, same thing. If I'm doing the low angle shot at something or someone, I'm typically stopping down to f5.6 or f8 just for, I like that everything in focus with the wide angle lens. And if you're shooting landscape, you're probably not shooting at f2.8 either. You're probably shooting at f8 or maybe even f16. I think the lens seems pretty good if it's decent optically and stuff.
Yeah,
like
which I'll like I said, you'll see the images, so you're going to know. It won't be just me talking about it. Yeah, I mean, I'm confident from what I've seen. Mark from the Tamron Rocky Mountain region posted a whole stack of images the other day, and he said it's as sharp as the 28-75. That's what he said. So if it's around that sharpness, it's astounding, really, for what you're paying for this lens as a travel lens. I think that the other thing too, I've been told that the focus motors are extremely quick as well. So that's another thing that I'll test, and it'll be interesting to try this out for video. Like Fripple said, being both a photographer and videographer, David, what are you more excited about this lens for images or video? Well, I'm probably a little bit excited about trying it for both, to be honest, because I quite like having the 28-75 on a gimbal. I do that a lot, and this is basically the same weight. So I'm dying to try it on Friday, you know, like throw it out to near the 200 mil and just sort of see what compression I can get with Renee doing the dancing and stuff like that. And it will be interesting. Yeah, and I'm really excited to try that and to give it a go. Probably what I'll do when I put it onto the gimbal, I'll just have it so it's halfway out. So all you do is go to your full extent, then you go back to the maximum, then put it halfway through. That way, no matter where you change it, if you have a decent gimbal like the Moza Air 2, it won't matter that you're changing the balance because the motors are strong enough to cope with pushing it either way. So I'll test it for both of you. I'll show you some images as a modeling shoot we'll do with her, and then I'll also do the full video of the dancer with it as well. So it's going to be really interesting. I love, like I said, I love just the initial look of this. I love the feel of the lens. It's the typical Tamron type lens. The build quality I've never ever had an issue with. Excuse me. I love the fact that I can use a 67mm filter thread on this and all of my other Tamron lenses, including also the 24 GM is also 67. So having that standard across the whole thing is brilliant for me. And in a lot of ways too, guys, I would prefer that compromise of not having the stabilization and other things like that, like a constant 2.8, to keep that 67mm filter thread in the weight. Is great,
exactly.
Aaron. I think it's only 570 grams or something like that. Like it's it's really, it seems like it's a really nice lens.
Yep, I think that lens, like I said, I think I said to take both, but I would take just that in like the fast prime, and
yeah, that's perfect.
So much, just like you said, the 28 1.4. I mean, that would be a really good, nice light setup. And I'm a minimalist, so that sounds like a treat to me.
Well, Rob said, I got the 70 to 180mm. Maybe I should have waited for this one if only I knew. Yeah, I mean, who knows what's coming out? I certainly didn't know this was coming out either. I mean, depending on how this goes, I mean, I might get this instead of the 70 to 180. I mean, I don't know. If this performs really good, particularly at the 200mm end, but remember, the 70 to 180 is 2.8 at 180. And I found that was beautiful as well. So if you do need that 2.8, the 70 to 180 certainly will have an advantage in that regard, whereas you're going to be probably up to 5.6 at 180mm on this.
David, just to interrupt you real quick, it's starting to thunder outside, and I hear wind and a lot of rain hit my window. Yeah, so if my electric goes out,
okay. Yeah, if you disappear, if you disappear, we'll just keep going. I understand, Aaron.
Keep going. Okay.
So yeah, it looks like it's really good, but I mean, I think the 70 to 180 is still a winner. I love that lens when I used it, but this is going to be really interesting because it's different, and I think to have that massive range, boy, if I'd taken this when I was at the US, I would have loved it. Let me just see.
That would be a good backup lens too, I think, for any photographer. Just if you have a few lenses and anything happens to those, I mean, you've got a whole range of focal lengths there to get you out of a pinch if you needed it, you know? Well,
look at Joe. Joe said there, I shot today a motorcycle for a customer and shot at 7.1 and still blurred the background.
Yeah, it's that thing that's been going around for like the last, I don't know, 6 years or something, where just everybody's got to smear the background on every shot. I mean, I do like the bokeh, but not on every shot. If you like it, you do, but Joe just said there, 7.1, because he's got more, a broader range of focus. He probably nailed it sharp, and the background's still blurry. So, yep.
Yeah. Anyway, that's sort of all we'll talk about in that, because, like I said, I can't discuss much now until I've used it. But I just wanted to do an unboxing with you. Now, I noticed Dana and also Gene are talking about the Sony Tough Cards. I've heard there was a recall on some of those. I put a comment in the photography videography school too about them, that I've had 3 of the previous Sony cards fail, and one of them had the video corruption on that card as well. So I've lost, to be completely honest, I've lost all trust in the Sony cards, because I've had to send 3 back and they've replaced them again, but I'm now just waiting for it to go again. I've never had a SanDisk fail. Dana said he's had one fail, a SanDisk as well, just recently failed. I've never had a SanDisk fail, so I think from now on, just go back to using SanDisk, I think. Have you got any of the Sony ones, Aaron?
No, I've always used SanDisk, and there was a time where SanDisk, what was it? I'm going to screw this up, but I think it was 128 gig SanDisk card, and they went from like 90 megabits or whatever, and then they changed them to 95, and that newer one had some issues with it in the Panasonic cameras. So I don't know what they did, but they kind of stepped back. I never had it. Well, I actually had one fail. Actually, I had 2 fail a long time ago doing a video production. It was quite nerve-wracking. but that's beyond, that was like a long time ago. But I just noticed there was a switch on these. They went forward with the faster technology, but they went back. I don't know what happened there, but I would say out of all the ones I've had, I've never had Sony. SanDisk only failed twice on me, but that was like a long time ago, and they were really old. Like, I mean, I used them over and over for when I was doing a big project here in Puerto Rico, and I just used the heck out of them for like 3 years straight, and they ended up failing. And I think you should, if you're doing stuff professionally, you probably should get new cards at least. It depends on how much you use them, but at least every year. What do you think, David?
Yeah. Well, you should, but
I
don't do that. I should, Aaron, but I keep them way too long. But I should.
Too, the problem is, it failed on me.
Yeah, the problem is they're not cheap, but I should.
Yeah,
the thing here that makes me understand is how important having dual cards is, because each time it's happened, I've been saved by the dual card slot.
Well,
so,
I didn't have dual card slots
well, there you go.
back in the day with those. But now I'm more likely to use them for longer than a year now, because I have dual card slots. To have two fail at the same time would be very rare. So yeah, dual card slots I like, and SanDisk, I like them.
But Sony, to their credit, they are replacing them. I mean, they've replaced all of my ones, but that doesn't help if you've lost your footage. This is the issue that, that I'm now nervous with the Sony cards due to what's happened. A lot of you may say that you haven't had issues.
Yeah,
but
Michael said he's had 6 Sony discs, I think he says, 64, 128 cards, and he's, I lost it, but I think he said he's never had an issue.
Yeah, so it may just be luck of the draw. But like I said, to have 3 go for me is
that's
pretty
crazy.
Bad. Yeah, I mean, it's not good at all. So I think I'm just going to stick with SanDisk from now on, to be completely honest.
I've never had issues. Well, a long time ago.
I'm just looking that. Oh, now I thought this was interesting too, because Lewis said that 28 to 200 with a maximum of 5.6 is fantastic and plenty usable even for indoor event style shooting. It is. I mean, you can still do it. You just have to up your ISO a little bit.
Yeah, and the ISO on the Sony full frame cameras are amazing. I mean, you could go way up. I think a lot of people are still scared to increase that ISO. And I mean, so many people actually, I hear throughout forums are less, they're willing to get a motion blurred shot over raising their ISO because of the noise, that it's probably not going to matter. I would rather have a noisier image than a blurrier, image. So I think 5.6 is good. Raise that ISO if you have to. I guess I'm just never been picky too much about the noise in my shots.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, like I just did the dance shows, I'll show you later, I added noise into them.
Yeah. Hey, when I was doing video in the day with the codecs coming out of the Canon cameras that were really crappy, we would do a process called dithering, and that is taking because you'd have macro blocking on those. You'd, like, in the shadows, there'd be literally like square, chunky, dirty, just macro blocking from the compression, and we would actually change it into like a ProRes, and then we would add noise to it to then break up that those macro blocking. So then you'd have more of a filmic noise, or more of a staticky type noise instead of the macro blocking. So I've for a long time added noise to video and my photos too. I think it actually, when you're doing that dithering process, you're actually adding detail to that by adding noise. You'd have to look it up to see how and why that works. But yeah, doing that to photos also brings more detail. It actually kind of looks nice. It looks better
like
than
film.
just. Yeah, it's nice. So, but you know what? The Fuji cameras, I've noticed you can go really high with those, like even 4,000 ISO. If as long as you're exposing a third of a stop over, meaning you're getting a proper exposure, it actually brings a really cool filmic look to the image. So yeah, I'm not picky on noise, that's for sure.
I mean, I love the film look. I mean, that's the thing. Like, sometimes if an image is just too clean, it doesn't look moody.
Yeah. So I've seen some people process it. There's nothing wrong with it. Completely subjective. I think it looks cool. I forget his name. I'm following this guy on Instagram. He does street photography, but he literally like smooths everything out. But he's doing this on purpose to get this really almost cartoon look. It's really weird, but it's just because it's so clean. So there are people who I haven't seen too many people going that extreme, but there is an extreme to it that actually looks kind of cool. But if you're not going that extreme with it, and you're just trying to make it starts looking a little weird, especially on skin. But adding noise, I think, is good. And if you know your camera and you know the ISO to use, and if you're exposing properly, like we've talked about many times, it can actually look nice in an image.
Now, I noticed Alexander said, that's some nice toner in the background there, Aron. What is that? Toner 1.8.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. Yeah, Boca from, what's that UFO guy?
I love it.
Casey from Camera Conspiracy. He calls it tone. That's too funny. Yeah, I got some tone going on. Like I said, hey, it's fun to play with every once in a while.
So Ripe Images says Henry's website shows the 28 to 200 at 1,049. That must be the Australian pricing, is it? Because I'm sure it's 750 or something US. I noticed Ripe Images also said here that he's talking about now that he didn't buy any third-party images, but now that he owns Sony, he's got 4 Tamron images. They certainly are incredible value for money.
They are,
and like Sigma are going to bring out some amazing ones as well.
The size and the weight, and I actually like the rendering of it. It's just it's brilliant for me.
Michael also said, is Sony still set to make an announcement on the 26th? Well, I think so. That's what I've heard. All right, so we better move on anyway. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for the review. Like I said, I'll do it on Friday. That's Thursday US time, and I'll get it out as soon as I can. I'll share some images with you, as well, so that you can have a look at that too. So what we wanted to do, the second story today, is to just talk about using strobes as against flash. And there's this little article that I'll just share with you here, and I'll just take you through it quickly, and then I'll just show you sort of what I use to give you an idea. So if I share the screen, application, and it's this one. So this is a story on Petapixel. I'll share it down below so you can see it if you want to have a look. Now, how do I take the comments off? Can I clear them? I'll just bring one up and then show it. Hi, Langston. How are you? Aron, Langston actually said, Aron has a great point about knowing your camera and ISO performance. It's true. You've got to know how much you can push it. Very good point.
Exactly.
All right, so let me show you this site. Now, this site is not like on Petapixel, and there's a whole video you can watch as well if you wanted to do it, but I thought we'd talk about when we do it, for instance. And this sort of just goes through how you would use Speedlights as against strobes. And there's just some cons that I'll just read through quickly. And it just says the pros of using a Speedlight are the size and weight. They're very small, and I'll show these in a minute. You can use AA batteries, and some others have lithium batteries and stuff that you can put in as well.
Yep.
You've got advanced features like HSS and TTL at an affordable price. And versatility, you can use them on camera and off camera, and I'll show that in a second. And cost, it's saying here that you can find some for as little as $30. The cons, they're saying the recycle time is slower. Now, it often is slower than, say, using a fairly large strobe. Battery drain, you'll run through batteries fairly quickly. I find that's not too much of an issue though, but complicated menus if you haven't used them before, and output is a problem because they typically produce between 50 watt seconds to 80 watt seconds and small light source. Now, if you compare that to, say, using a larger strobe that you see down here, before we show you what we use, the pros for this, it's saying faster recycle time, opens a lot of creative possibilities. Power output 200 watts to 1,000 watts, so it's massively different. It's like using 5 of these smaller strobes in the one strobe. The difference is that much. Obviously, you can use much larger modifiers, and powerful on-location lights. Battery-powered strobes can now be used in situations that require speedlights because they have batteries on them now as well. Cons of this is the size and weight. The cost, they are much more expensive, and AC power for some of them, but now most of them are going towards batteries. So let me just stop this and I'll show you what we use, and then Aron will sort of discuss what he uses. So there's 2 things that I use. So I tend to use, I've got the Sony flashes that I've used, and I can't remember if I can see the model number. I think, no, I can't remember. Oh, yeah, it's HVL 560M, I think, is the model number of these. These are really good. Sony did a really incredible thing with these flashes because I haven't seen any other camera like it or flash like it, because when you stick them on your camera, if you want to go and shoot, obviously if you're shooting landscape type shots or this way, you know, in that format. But if you want to go and shoot this way, which is your often portrait lens, you can tilt this up. So it has an amazing ability to just tilt up, and then you've got the flash in the correct plane. So that's one great thing, and I haven't seen that before when I'm looking at other flashes. The other thing too is that's really great on this is that you do have, you know, this little LED light, and you can control that on the back and make it much brighter or much lower. And again, if you were trying to get critical focus, it's really good. So, you know, it's great. Now, the thing is, what I say to people though, and Aaron may want to go through this as well, is it's never good to use the flash on camera. Now, the only way I'll ever do that is if I tend to bounce off the ceiling, or if I tend to put it down that way and bounce off the wall behind me, or even go off the wall on the side like that. And then you'll get sort of light that comes in and gives you shape and shadow and things like that across the face. But you're limited in what you can do with the power of these, remember, because they're only small. So how do you get around it? Well, I tend to use it off camera most of the time. And what I will do is I'll stick it on something like this, which is a receiver or a transmitter, I should say. So let me just put it on. Then that will, you can then hold that, and Kerry usually, or my system will hold that, and then you can fire the camera from a transmitter through here. And then what you do is you can have multiple ones of these. So you can have them all over the place. You can have one behind, you can hide them in corners and do things like that. So in some ways, depending on what your shoot's going to be, these can be very, very handy as against a larger strobe, because you can hide them in positions that you can't hide a larger strobe. I mean, if you look at what Joe McNally does, for instance, he's incredible in the things that he does. And they can all be put on separate channels, like you have the ability to put them on separate channels and groups and things like that, so you can control them all differently. But to be honest, I very rarely use them now, Aaron. I mostly use strobes now, you know, and I'm mostly using things like these strobes now. The ability to have the continuous light on these, have much more power, like this is about 5 of these lights, you know, it's much better. That you can put big modifiers on, the light's much more controllable, and they're really quite easy to hold and move around. And I find these resync, sort of sync faster, you can fire off the flash faster, and they're much easier to sort of control. So 99% of the time now, or I can't remember the last time I got those strobes out, to be honest, the Sony strobes, I'm tending to now use this type of light all the time. I mean, what do you want to add to that, Aaron?
Well, I still use these Godox V862.
Yep.
I use these. I've never owned a studio strobe in my entire life. So if you seen any of my photos, it was either natural light or this. And typically, I'm a minimalist, and I roll with natural light. If the light's not good and I have to add light, well, then I'll get these out. What else? If I want to add a mood to the scene or something, then I'll get these out. But typically, what I like to do is look for the natural light. But sometimes, you know, let's say the window is, well, let's say this is the window coming here, and I want to photograph this way, but the background's not good because the background's better that way. Well, then, and the window's not, you know, doing good, well, a couple of these out. I've did many outside shoots with flash, and I've never had a studio, a strobe. And so what I would do, I don't have the bracket with me, but I have one of those brackets that hold 2 of these, and I put them both in there, and for me, they always were bright enough. Now, when you do put those both at full power, the recycle time is a little slower. But I mean, it was never like so slow where everybody's like, oh, geez, this guy's taking forever. It's just like, you know, you take a flash and you wait, and there you go again. And at that time, you know, it seemed like it wasn't a big deal to me. And I've never had a studio strobe, so I've only used these. And typically, I don't use flash all that much, actually. So for me to have a studio strobe is spending a little more and having extra weight that I just won't use. I've thought about it many times now. David, when we were out in the Fire of Valley, or the Valley of Fire,
Yep.
I always say that backwards, you were using that with that LED capability. Now that's not what, this doesn't have that. So that would be the only thing that would get me to switch, basically, is it has that ability to do that. But so far, I usually have like 3 of these with me. Don't use them, but if I have to, I'll use 2 on a stand. One of our photo shoots, I just laid it like this in the back. Well, I'm pointing that way. In the background, to kind of like my light's doing back there, shining some light on the background to bring something, you know, interesting, or using it as a hair light if the background's dark, you know, whichever way I want to go, and then 1 to flash there. So 3 of these is all I've ever used, and typically if I'm shooting in the broad daylight, 2 of these are bright enough that I can just raise it and post the shadows and post if I have to on my subject, and yeah, it works pretty good. They are TTL. This one, I would always use the lithium-y batteries, because AA batteries, I don't know if the recycle time is going to be fast enough. Then you're talking real slow. So that's all I've ever used. Right now, I'm just using one of those little, I forget what you call these. I did a video of these a while ago. They're little cubes that, there's 2 of them. They're small little cube that goes on your flash like that and goes on the hot shoe. And it's just basically a dumb trigger that can trigger your flashes. But I typically use a dedicated trigger so I can get that high-speed shutter, because I'm not going to be dealing with ND filters and all that. And that's basically what I do. That's about it.
I noticed Langston too, just to talk about from before, said, I mean, a lot of movies shoot at 5.6 and higher. There is plenty of blur. I mean, you've talked about that before, Aaron, haven't you? We had a whole discussion about that. Yeah,
typical Hollywood films. It's typical because, of course, every film is different in what they're going for. I remember the newer of the Star Trek with what's his name? The new Star Trek director who's doing Star Wars now. That first Star Wars film that he made, they were actually, I think they were filming with like a 135 millimeter or 200 millimeter in the scene where they're in the, I don't remember the Star Trek terms. J.J. Abrams was the director. What do you call that cockpit in that big ship there? And Star Trek fans will have to point that out. But he was using long lenses. What?
I'm not sure, actually. I love Star Trek, and I can't remember the name either.
The SS Enterprise.
Yes.
But I forget the cockpit, whatever that thing's called. And they were using like long lenses to get in. So there are times where they, you know, break that rule. There's really no rule. But typically, f4 to f5.6 is what typical Hollywood would use to film somebody, because, you know, like if we're doing a dialogue, let's say I'm talking this way and that's the camera, and I'm talking to somebody over here, and this is camera A and camera B is filming them, or if you got one camera and switching it around, whatever, and you're talking like this, you know, typically they want everything in focus here, because if the actor moves forward to talk to somebody, like if I'm moving now, I might be out of focus right now because I'm at an f1.4. So you don't want that in Hollywood. So f4 is good enough, and like Langston said, you're blowing the background because you don't have to have completely crushed out, blurred out background to separate it. So typical f4 is what they typically use. Yeah, so Langston's right, and we've talked about that before, David, that they don't typically blow it out all the time, very rarely, actually.
Well, Mick actually also said, just went outside with my Tamron 70 to 180 and set the aperture to 5.6 at 180 millimeter, and he was surprised at how much compression it still had. Yeah,
you know what? When I was shooting with Panasonic, I had the 100. What was it? The 75 to 100, or the 70 to 100, but the ×2 crop factor is a 200 millimeter, and that's at f2.8. So in a full frame, that's what, an f5.6. So I shot a lot at 200 millimeters at f5.6 full frame equivalent, and the backgrounds were like, there were some shots where the background was too blurry that, like I said, I had to stop down to see some buildings back there that we matched her dress to match those buildings in the background. So I even had to stop down from that. So 200 millimeters is pretty, that compression is going to get you some nice blurry backgrounds.
Now, Jeff also said, how do you manage batteries? I'll talk about that, and then you might be able to mention that too. All I do is I carry a spare bag of multiple batteries, and this is one reason why I don't use the smaller strobes anymore, because with the batteries that are on the Pro Photo, it lasts me all day, and I never have to change them. I might have to change to one spare battery at the end of the day, so I tend to now do that. But yeah, I used to carry around a bag that would just have all the AA batteries in it, and I used to carry a bunch just in case if I needed them. How do you manage it, Aaron?
Yeah, when I used to have the ones before they came out with these lithium batteries, I would do the same. I would have a whole charging station and charge up all the batteries before I went and did the wedding and all that, and I would have just tons of batteries. Now, literally, with like I said, I don't use flash all that much unless I have to, or to add drama to the scene, which I do also. But this right here, and like, the other thing why I like this over strobes is what you've said, is I love to be able to put it on camera, have one of these on camera to do all my bouncing during events and weddings. I mean, I'm always bouncing stuff around like that. But then I could also take it off and use it somewhere else, where as a studio strobe, you can't hook. So I'm a minimalist. This does all that for me. So that's why I do that. But now with these lithium batteries, during a wedding, I mean, man, I don't think I've ever changed out one of these batteries during a whole wedding before. Now, I'll use typically 2 flashes. Like I said, one on camera bouncing stuff when I need to, and then maybe 1 or 2 flashes in umbrellas for the dance floor. And I've never had to change any of those batteries out with these Godox V862s. And I typically take anywhere from up to 2,000 photos, I would say. Now, those aren't all flashed, but I never had an issue with batteries with these lithiums.
Oh, cool. Damien said, will the new Tamron 28-200 be good for a wedding? I'll let you know when I review it. I can't sort of comment yet until I try it. But, I mean, in theory, it should be fine.
In theory, I think it should, yeah.
Yep. Sid said, I use the Godox system consisting of strobes and flashes. Aaron is using the flash that I use with the lithium battery. Faster recycle time. I have 4 of them and place them in different positions.
Exactly. And someone said, it was Hogarth, I think, said it's called the bridge, that cockpit of the SS Enterprise.
Yeah, that's right. Ripe said, I used to be a strobist for years and years. Speedlight was something I enjoyed. McNally also influenced my work back then. And I'm like you, Aaron. I've tended to use it less and less sort of as my shooting has changed over the time.
Flash in general?
Yeah, I don't use flash anywhere near like what I used to.
I mean, you know, there are people out there that and this is not wrong. When I say stuff like this, it's not wrong at all. It's just a choice. Where there's some people who, when they go out and shoot, they set up a flash. That's just what they do, and it's fine. But for me, man, I love natural light. But don't let that always be an excuse to you not to learn this, because, like I said, I take these with me all the time.
Yep.
I take at least one of these with a trigger, maybe these little cubes. I forget what they're called. Just a dumb trigger. All the time. Like, this is always in my bag, because there's times where you just don't have good lighting and you need something like that. So don't let that be a cop-out to say, well, I'm just a natural light photographer, because you don't know how to use these. I would consider myself a natural light photographer that uses flash when I need it. So
yeah, me too. Like, I'll always take it with me just in case, because you never know what might happen. Remember, at the end of the day, light is just light. And now I just like to try and work fairly quick now, and I love the fact that if I'm using natural light, I can just do things really, really quickly without really having to worry about set things up. Yep. The toner trend is a trend, though. Need all the bokeh or Zoan, silky smooth. Saying, let me just take it down here just to see if anything else. Norm said, I shoot events with the Met 64 AF1 on a strobo foam quick flip. I haven't heard that. Quick flip bracket. Oh, it must take it off the edge, perhaps. The wing light secondary flash tube makes all the difference from motorhome interiors. Oh, okay. So it's probably more of a specialized type shooting.
One thing I thought about, David, with the flash is having studio strobes for inside a church, because sometimes it could be pretty dark, and there's really nothing going on to really, there's no it's not like there's a window with light coming, with light coming in or something. So sometimes I would like to have 2 studio strobes to shine up the top and light the whole thing up, just because there's really no ambient specialty going on there. So it's not like you're breaking the mood, but yet you're keeping your images clean if you're going too high in ISO. So, but I never had to yet. So you know.
Hector says, yeah, what do you do for your reception weddings when you need that critical light for fill light? I put a speed light on top of my camera. Well, you know what I do now, Hector, honestly, is I've got Kerry usually with me, and she's using the Pro Photo on continuous lighting. I very rarely use the flash anymore. I'm nearly always using continuous lighting now. It's just what I like to do. You haven't got the flash going on and off all the time. I can just move and just go bang, 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 just shoot away, and I love it. It's changed the way that I shoot.
I watched you take a photo of me and my wife in that Valley of Fire, Valley of Fire, and it's just like when we did video. So it's like a weird mind twist for me that photography, I just can't get into it. But watching me and my wife posing in that big crevasse or whatever, and just having Carrie, you tell him move to move, and I just could see the shadows around us turning, and you're watching where that's like so cool, man. Because with strobes, that's the only bummer, is you just got to set it up to where, you do it long enough, you kind of know where it goes, but then you take the photo, you got to chimp it and go like, oh yeah, that's terrible. The glasses or whatever, is just that rock there, all this shadows that you don't see, but with continuous light, man, it's just like so quick,
Yeah, that's the thing. I just, because what you see is what you get, and that's why it's changed everything for me. Michael said, David, what do you think about the new Sony Xperia 1 II Pro? I haven't seen it, Michael, so no, I can't sort of comment on that yet. I've read that one already. Norm said, back in the 70s, Peter Golan wrote a guide for the Vivitar using multiple electronic flash. It's an outstanding guide to an affordable portable studio system. Michael also said, lighting inside some churches are the worst to me at times.
Yeah,
I've tended now, I very rarely use the lighting anymore. I tend to now just crank the ISO and use what's there.
That's what I do.
Yeah, and that's the way, like having the ability of these latest cameras, like the A7 III and the A9 and the Fuji cameras or whatever, the ability to raise your ISO in those situations is usually good enough. And the thing is too, that I want to match that beautiful ambience that's inside the church. That's the thing that I can do.
Well, the thing is, like, when I wasn't printing a lot and stuff like this, so what happens is when you kind of get scared of ISO because you're sitting there. I did lots of weddings on Micro Four Thirds, mind you, and sometimes you take that photo, and then when you get back, you just have that ability to zoom in or to crop in or to pixel peep so easily. It's like, if you got like a bride and groom, their full body shot, or even, they're like this small, like here's the photo, and they're like this small sitting in there. And if you zoom in on that, it looks like complete garbage because there's so much noise, you can't even make out their eyeballs or whatever. But if you were to print that out, which then I did in later years, it's just like, it looks good. You're looking at it because you're not zooming in like this to see all that. So, man, even when the noise levels are high and you print it out and you're not pixel peeping, because I think that just kind of destroyed people, is that pixel peeping ability on digital. And you look at the print, even if the print is like this size and you're looking at it, it looks great. It's just, I'm telling you, it's just like, wow, that's how I composed a photo like that. So you print it out and people are seeing it how you composed it, and you don't really see noise. Maybe you do, but it's not when you zoom in on their face, like, oh my God, I can't even see their eyeballs, or if that noise thing. Crank the ISO sometime and just do some test shots and print it out or whatever. And,
you'd be surprised.
It looks amazing.
As long as like we've discussed before, you don't underexpose. Thank you so much. Hector too gave us a $20 donation. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Hector.
I had a question too about the ProPhoto B10, saying, is it powerful enough? Yes, it is. But depending on, you wouldn't use it in daylight, but if you
are we talking about the constant light thing?
Yeah. Now, this is incredibly powerful, and it's color calibrated as well, so I can change the color of this. But, this thing is like nuts. If you look at the back of the room, you can sort of see through here. Like it's, there's a lot of power in this thing. And I put a Magnum diffuser on there, which makes it go up by 2 stops. So when I put the Magnum on there, the light is even stronger. Now, the ability of this is I can stick this in a softbox. I have a 2-foot octa that I can stick it in, so the light's soft, and that's good enough from sort of around about 1.5 meters away, 2 meters, that I can get a decent exposure by upping the ISO. Now look, it won't replace, you can't overpower sunlight, so don't think it's a light like that, it's not. But it's certainly usable for if you're in the shade, like Aron was talking about when we were inside that sort of cavey thing. It's perfect for that sort of stuff. Even in daylight, it will add fill, and it is more powerful than what you think, particularly if you use the Magnum reflector on it.
And what's really cool is that because you can change that the color, the temperature to it. If you are in shadow, you can match the ambient so easy wherever you are, but outside, because sometimes you might have to get a gel to do certain things. A lot of what do you call it? I forget what that technique is, where you can make the background like bluer or redder by just changing gels. And man, like I'm a minimalist, I have like Velcro, little Velcro. I just cut little Velcro sticky pieces on here, and I took video gels that I do for a video production, and I just cut rectangle gels out and put Velcro on there because I hate the process of putting gels and all that junk on there. So I got to go find them. But that light, man, you just change the temperature and you're ready to go. I'm really kind of liking that idea.
Yeah, balance it and off you go. Now you might be able to answer this too, Aron, because Dwayne has asked. G'day, Dwayne, how you going? Just bought the Fuji X100V. It's amazing. Man, I love the colors. Does anyone think Sony can give us more from a color standpoint?
I don't know, because nobody seems to be able to match Fuji, but I don't know if they're trying to match Fuji, because when you take a Fuji file and you bring it into Lightroom, a raw file, it has those what do you call that? There's you can put different like filters to whatever photo you want, and once you bring a raw Fuji file into Lightroom, it'll give you those same film emulations that are in your camera. So once you add that, it's almost identical, almost. I mean, it's so close I wouldn't care. Adding their little Fujifilm emulations to your raw photo looks just like the JPEG coming out of the Fuji camera. So it's not like these scientists can't match that Fuji color because Adobe did it. And the other one, there's another software that a lot of Fujifilm users use. They're doing it too. So I don't know why they don't do it. Maybe they're just not trying to emulate Fuji, but I'm sure they could definitely do it. And I don't know. I don't know why the colors are like that. Now, people say they don't like Sony colors. I never had a problem with Sony colors. I do like colors coming out of Fuji better, but I would say Sony just seems a little more accurate, and a lot of people say there might be a little more green bias to it. These are older now. The newer Sony cameras now seem to fix that even more. I think it's just more of a natural look, whereas the Fuji is giving you more of a filmic, more, what do you call that? More, just a more filmic, yummy look to it already, whereas the Sony, it's just kind of a, you got to add your own yumminess to that, which is fine because I usually edit all the RAWs anyways. But I don't know, to your question, they could copy it because it's not like a weird science that they can't. But what do you think, David? You just think Sonys are going for more of a, let's get you a nice clean image, then you go do what you want with it later?
Well, they've improved. They have improved, definitely. I found when I used the A7R4, they definitely improved over what the A7 III and the A9 had. Even the A9 II had improved a little bit over what the A9 had. A little bit, not heaps. I think you're probably going to find eventually they'll get, say, onto the Venice color science on the Sony cameras, and then the colors are very, very good. So, it's probably going to get to the point where I don't think color, I don't really even think it's much of an issue now anyway, because it's not anything that you can't just change in a couple of dials, and switches or whatever. I mean, I've never looked at the Sony color and thought, wow, I'm not happy with how they look. But Dwayne obviously has seen the difference. I mean, I might get, if I bought perhaps a Fuji, I might look at the file and go, wow. I mean, did you notice that, Aron? Did you notice it when you did?
Yeah, there's definitely a difference. Now, when I had the Nikon D750 and I did video with that for the first time, and I brought it into, maybe I was using DaVinci Resolve at the time, that file from the Nikon D750, we're talking about the video, the photo files were great too. But I just remember, because I was just coming off of the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera, And bringing that Nikon D750 file into DaVinci Resolve and just boosting just the colors, like, oh my gosh, look at that. I felt like I was cheating because it brought a deliciousness. I don't know the term I should be using here, just an overall richness to that image. We're like, wow, the Fuji is the same way. Even if I'm shooting right now on classic chrome, by the way, on a Fuji XT2 right now. So if you want to know what it looks like now, you can't just emulate that with the Sony file. I mean, good luck. You know, you got to really know what you're doing to emulate that. But maybe you don't like the classic chrome look. But this is like straight out of camera what a JPEG would look like. But even the raw files coming out of Fuji cameras, when you just increase the saturation or these little things, it brings a real rich color to it. And it's just the way they do their colors to when you move it, it just does things, you know, you like it or you don't. Whereas Sony, it's always like if I increase the saturation, it's looking very just a very natural color. It's not a deliciousness to it. Yep. You have to just manipulate it if you want whatever look you're going for. But Fujifilm, yeah, I do notice it. Same with the Nikon D750 and the Blackmagic Pocket. You have a little bit of adjustments. It's just like, wow, that looks so good.
Yeah, the Nikon definitely has nice colors, the Z series, that's for sure. Aaron, Jeffrey said, is Aaron talking about the alien skin for Fuji emulator? That wasn't.
No, I'm not. I do know, what is it? Capture One. That's what I'm talking about, not alien skin. Yep. People do use that as well, but Capture One has they got their Fuji edition, which they cracked this color science too. So did Adobe with these new things. So yeah. And I think Sony could do it, but I think they're just going for a very clean slate, natural look.
Yep, cool. All right, so that we can sort of finish there. Now, guys, if you have any questions, please leave them down below. Aaron checks the site as well, and he also usually uploads them onto his channel. I'm not sure if you're going to do that because we're going to talk about his channel again in a minute, his new channel, because Aaron's got a sort of a big announcement. Yeah. If you haven't seen his announcement that he put up yesterday. So we're going to talk about that in the next story. But if you have any questions or anything like that, leave them down below. We do always try and get back to you as soon as possible. So leave them there. And like I said, we'll try and answer anything that you'd like to know. If it's anything about Fuji and stuff like that, well, obviously I'm going to, hopefully Aaron will check that out. So yeah, that's that story. Now, we wanted to, for the last story before we show our picks, I wanted to discuss with Aaron, because Aaron has decided to do a really big thing with his YouTube channel, and I wanted to sort of make the announcement here. He did discuss it yesterday, but some of you may not have seen it, so I wanted you to have a listen to what he's done and why he's done it, and then hopefully you can move over to his new channel. So do you want to take us through, Aaron, why you did what you did and what you're thinking?
Yeah, I have a video on my old channel kind of explaining, well, you know, what I did, but I was getting comments about, you know, why give up your channel and not just change it and move forward from there. It goes so much deeper into that, and not spiritually or anything like that. But when I first started that channel, it was like 8 years ago, right? So a long time ago, and that's kind of when at least I started discovering YouTube. I wasn't like a viewer for many years and then decided, I found out about it and I started. And when you start YouTube, you get like a youtube.com and a whole bunch of numbers after that. You know, that's like that's your channel address basically. But then once you are on there for 30 days and you get 100 subscribers and you change your channel art, they allow you to take a custom address. You know, so I changed it. Back then I was kind of starting to do getting into motion graphics and video production. So I changed that to a Trinity FX MG for motion graphics, because
I'm
Trinity
showing
FX
your older site at the moment.
Yeah,
Aaron, so.
I see it. And it was already taken. So I had that. And then I changed it to Aron J. Anderson later. But when you go to my main channel, when someone wants to you know, like link my YouTube channel, it would always show up as that first thing that I started, that Trinity FX MG, and then it was an old address, email that Google wouldn't let me change it. So I've got all these like just weird names and things that I didn't want anymore. But of course, I went with my channel. But then throughout the years, I didn't have a direction. Remember, I just kind of dove in there. My idea was to do videos to teach people what I've come to learn through video. and then of course later into photography. But something happened. I decided that, man, when you do something when you're teaching somebody, which was my main thing, it would get like 500 views, maybe 1,000. But then when I did my first gear video, it got like 5,000 views. And it just kept going like that, where I learned that if I do a gear video, I get like 80,000 views now on a lens video, and maybe 400 views on teaching somebody something. So it started being more toward gear. So I started losing myself in my channel. Like, I want to teach stuff and I want to talk about photography and the history of photography and techniques about photography, but I know that doesn't sell. I need to start pushing gear. So I started pushing the gear thing, and it just went out of control basically for me, for what I originally wanted. So I got so far into it, like I said, you know what, I'm actually chasing numbers now, because I'm like, I want to do that. I want to show this one photographer on how he inspires me, but that's not going to get no views. And I want to be a YouTuber, darn it. So I'm going to do another, oh, guess what camera I have now? So yeah, I got lost into all this number crunching type of, oh, how do I do better? So I said, you know, enough is enough. So I said, let me get away from this old channel. Let me start a new channel, which is called Aron J. Anderson Photographer, and having feel to everything. Because when you first start out, you just don't know. I didn't know what I was doing. So new channel, new look. I'm going to start doing stuff that I enjoy, even if it doesn't get views, because even if someone would, even if there's like 20 people that would say, oh, wow, thanks for that, that tip or that certain thing, or I didn't know, I never heard about that photographer, that's really good, then that's good for me. So I'm not going to be crunching numbers. I'm not going to stress out of trying to, you know, you watch those YouTube channels like 5 top tips on how you can be the best YouTuber and all that. I'm not going to follow that. I'm just going to make YouTube channel, YouTube videos that I enjoy, and I hope other people enjoy it. If not, it's okay. And that's why I basically am leaving the old channel for the new channel, and to have more of a cohesive, you know, my email is going to be the same, my address will be the same, the look and the feel will be the same, and not get all just all over the place. So that's basically it, I think. I don't think I left anything out.
Yeah, I was showing it. It looks nice. So you've changed your design. Looks very clean.
I'm more of a warm type of person. I've always been like that. I always loved wood and oaks, and I love like just richer, warmer type looks. And I kind of went to the more, I like sci-fi too. So I went more sci-fi over the years, not just recently, but over the years I did that. And then recently I kind of, so I'm going back to who I am. I like warm, I like tungsten-y type light. And that's basically it. I don't think there's anything else I need to add unless I missed something out. But if you guys want to, head on over to the new channel, check it out, because the old channel it'll probably sit there for a while, because there's still stuff people will always say, oh my gosh, you saved me a lot of money on that lens that you reviewed, stuff like that. And one thing real quick is, I'm not going to be like a snob about gear. I will talk about gear, but it's not going to be just like for numbers or just for, I know this is going to get a lot of views. It's just, it's going to be if it could help somebody, or like why I use this lens is because of this purpose. So that's it.
Ripe Images just said he just subscribed. Yeah, so if you can, like I said, Aron's not chasing subscribers, so you know.
I do want a community of like-minded people, and people who really want to get into the photography and not necessarily the gear, which I know doesn't sell today, but I'm going to do a video on that, and I think we need to bring it back to more about the photography, or at least have some channels that are sticking with that and not just all these gear videos, because I try to look up stuff and it's just like, oh, they're just talking about gear. I wish this, there's one person who used to do that, and I saw him in comments saying, yeah, but this is what the people want. And so he kind of changed it more toward gear, like, why? I want more photography. So if you want that, go check out my new channel.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, Jay said he's heading out now, heading over now, so he's going to subscribe already. Richard's saying hello from Las Vegas too, so we've got some people coming in. So if you have any last minute questions, guys, you can throw them in, but we're going to show first of all just a couple of pics. So let me just open a couple of these up. We'll open up Aron's first.
Yeah, I don't have mine on my iPad. I have it back there, so but I know what it is.
Let me just share this. Share. application window, this one.
Show our pic.
And let me just clear that thing. All right, so Aaron, it's up on the screen so you can talk about it.
Okay, so I wanted to talk about a little bit about photography on this photo, and me and Dana from our Facebook group, he mentioned something that he realized what I was doing, and I always like when people know enough about the photographer, they go, "Ooh, I see what you were doing," and like, it's good eye you got there. And he noticed something. It's a very striking. You can't miss it. But you're looking at it right now. Sorry, that tree right there. Okay, I'm not seeing it, so I'm like, oh, now I see it. Now that tower right there was at a very old rum factory, or a subdivision of the rum factory, or they're bottling it there. I don't know, but I took some really cool photos of them actually still making the barrels for their rum. And this, I don't know, find out what it was for, but I was taking photos around. You can go to my Instagram, Aron J. Anderson. Go check out my Instagram, and you can see some of these photos. And you got to really, when you're taking photos, don't just take it from one angle. And I know that, but I was taking photos with this cool red Ford truck, which was to the left of this photo. And they were cool shots. And what I was doing, I was trying to put things in between, in how do you say that? Like in the foreground, and then have a midground and a background. So I was looking for that, you know? And sometimes when you're taking photos and you see this thing, just look way over there. Like, is there an angle that I can get like way over there or over there? And that's what I did here. I looked over there and I saw a tree, and I'm just in my mind saying, wonder if I could put that in the scene after I took the Ford shot. So I walked over there, and as I'm walking around the tree, that's what I saw. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like perfect. You know, it's, looking for the shot, I guess I would call it. So I was looking for a shot, and I just saw this tree with this weird branch coming around, and that window was right there. Now I had to step on my tippy toes and get the camera. It was bright out, so I couldn't really, I was using a manual focus lens, by the way, so I couldn't really, see through the EVF. So I was tippy-toed to get as close as I could and get the composition. And I came up with this composition, which I thought was would have been an ordinary shot if the tree wasn't there, or if just the branches come in. But because I looked elsewhere and I walked around trying to get something in between me and my subject, lo and behold, they had the cool tree there with that branch. And I basically focused on the window there, and I took a shot. So just thought I'd
It's cool.
always think, far away. Another thing is, if you see videographers or photographers and you're a wedding photographer, or you're a second shooter or something, and you're watching something happen, look like what would it look like from way over there, and you'll find really cool shots like that. So that's it, David.
Cool. I just wanted to welcome Peter Gregg too. I love watching Peter's stuff. Peter's an amazing
Peter,
bloke.
yes, I've been watching you for a long time, buddy.
So let me just show you one of my. I can't
Go
remember if I
subscribe to
showed
him
you.
too. He does amazing videos, by the way.
Yes, he does. Let me just open this in preview. Yeah, with that one. I don't think I showed this last time, but I can't remember. Just remind me if I did, Aaron. So the picture I'll show is this one.
I'm delayed, so I can't see it yet.
Now it's Kiara. I think I showed another one of Kiara, but this was a different one where I wanted to show her sitting down in the studio. We wanted to try something different this time, because normally when I've done these type of shots, I tend to do them with on the white paper. Now I thought I wanted to this time do something with the polished concrete floor that I've got in the studio, because I thought I'd like to see the lovely reflections that are coming off there, and I thought it might give a different type look to what I normally show in the studio type location. And I love this. I love this photo. It's black and white. I adore the little pose that she's doing there, and typical Kiara with the dancing. Her feet and everything are pointed out beautifully. The lighting is done from a massive 7-foot octa that's just above her to camera right, pointing down. So she's only lit with one light here and it probably was on f8, 1/25th of a second, ISO 100. So that's probably what it was set at. But, you know, I love this type of shot. I love the connection that she's got with me. I love the way she's got her hand. Probably the hand may have been a fraction better if it was tilted a little bit more to the side, but I'm a perfectionist in that sort of stuff. But I still love the way she's grabbing her hair. She's just in a man's shirt. I've got this film for video, so I will be showing this shoot when I get around to doing it. I just haven't had time. It's funny, since lockdown, I've had less time to do things because I've had so much going on all the time. And now I've got the Tamron lens that's going to hold this back again, including the dance shoot that I did the other day. So this will be coming on video. I'll be showing how it's shot and all that sort of stuff, so stay tuned for it. But basically, I just wanted to show that. Jeff said she's an amazing model. Yeah, she's terrific, Kiara. She wanted to do something a little bit more adulty. Now that she's 18, she can do that sort of stuff. So she wanted to do something a little bit more sexy. She asked me, in fact, and I said, yep, let's go for it. So just wait and stay tuned for the video. Yeah, so it's great to see Peter in. Peter's done something similar to you, Aron, because Peter had 2 channels. He had his normal channel, and then he also just recently started another channel where he's streaming every day. Like he actually streams every single day, giving people guidance on things like setting up streaming and doing all that sort of stuff. So he set up a separate channel due to the fact that, well, he might be able to put it down on the
Peter, if you're still here, let us know, because I didn't know you did that. I'd like to check it out.
Yeah, so he's done that because he was finding that it was wrecking his analytics because he didn't have that many people watching those shows. It was wrecking the analytics of the other channels, so it was good. Yeah, it was camera left, Dana, the lighting on that image. Thanks, everyone. It's saying it's gorgeous. So if you put down your link, if you're still in there, Peter, let us know what that other channel is, and people might subscribe over to that as well. So if you have any last questions, guys, just fire them away, because we can have a couple of minutes here with Q&A, and then we're going to go off. So, Aron, what have you got coming up?
Well, real quick, I had for one, Norm has asked me how do I respond to the chat. I have to look back there at myself, but I have this. It's an iPad. I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you? It's an iPad iPad Air 2. I have it on a light stand here, and I can see you guys. So I just sit there, boop, boop, and I type it there. David, I had a question about your photo real quick.
Yep.
Did you, maybe I missed it, sorry if I did. Did you pre-think of doing that in black and white, or did you just play with, you saw it and say, oh, this deserves a black and white?
Yeah, I just saw it and thought I love it in black and white. I edited it in color and then converted it to black and white at the end.
I think it was a good choice. Black hair, white shirt, I think it just really hit home. Oh, what do I have planned? You asked me what I had planned, or?
Yes, Peter's also put his channel up. It's called Peter Greg Live. That's if you wanted to. Yeah. So what have you got planned, Aron?
Just my new channel. I'm going to be filming my first video for there. Now, I did bring, I think, like 9 videos from my old channel over there, just because that's kind of the way I'm going with gear and stuff as for what I'm going to use. I just wanted something over there because you need to get something going. But I'm going to be filming my first video for that probably maybe tomorrow or so. So I'll be doing that. So stay tuned to that. Peter, thanks for putting that. What about you, David? What are you up to? You're going to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, I've got stacks. Like I've got, let me grab them. Yeah.
I forgot to put the time on here.
So
I'll check that out, Peter.
I've got these Boom XDs that I've got to review. These are wireless lav mics that I'm going to review. There's another one from Andy Scene that they sent me that this is like the Rode little microphone, so I'm going to be reviewing that. Firetech sent me another gimbal that I'm going to look at, so I'm going to sort of shoot that as well. And then I've also obviously got the Tamron 28 to 75 that I've got to shoot. So I've got heaps. Oops, I'm just getting rid of these. I did shoot a video. Yeah, bye, Peter. He said he had to go. I did just put a video up showing this amazing handle that's for the Sony cameras. I love this thing. This is brilliant. I think it's mahogany or something or whatever. I can't remember, redwood or something.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
But it works from the shutter. Now, I often work this way when I'm doing video because I like to go handheld and move around quickly. But I've always had the problem before of when I went to press record, like trying to find the record button, whereas now I can just press the record on there. Now I've reviewed this on my page as well, so that's just gone up.
Only for Sony, right?
Well. Yeah, and I love that handle. I think Small Rig do incredible stuff. So there's certainly a few review things that are coming up. I'm dying for Friday because I can't wait to do that review. Now that means I won't be live on Friday, guys. So the usual Sony Alpha Rumors news show will probably be Saturday. So I'll do it the day after. I'll probably put that in, because I'll be live. I'll be out there shooting with not Kiara, Renee on
with the new
Friday.
lens.
Yes, with the new lens. So stay tuned for that. If there's anything you'd like me to test it, put it down below, because I'll try and make sure I do things that people want me to do with that lens. Like I said, I'm going to try it with the A6-400 as well for you. I'm going to do video, and I'm also going to do still. So I'll have lots and lots of things that
Michael's asking you a question.
Will work. What was
Michael's asking you, what percentage do you feel your post-production work plays an overall role in your work?
Oh, lots, Michael. Yeah.
Tons.
Yeah, I always shoot for post-production in mind when I'm doing things. I never share anything that's not post-produced. It's just because I came from a fashion background originally, that side of my work is very strong. So I'm very protective of anything that is not being edited up to my type of standard. So I'm very, very strong on that point of view. In fact, the dance shoots that I've just done, if you check my Instagram out, the dance, that's a new group that I'm working with. They've just been blown away with the photos. So, but I am very, very fussy, but I always shoot with that editing in mind because I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm constantly looking around, sort of checking and thinking about what I'm going to be doing. I get in a zone. I've discussed that before. Sometimes it's almost like I'm rude because I'll be ignoring what Kerry's saying to me or anything. Yeah, I go into this zone and, that's it. But it's very important for me.
I had what was I going to say? Shooting for post. I do that as well. And sometimes I'm really reluctant when I'm doing a video or even photography for a client or something, and they want to see it because it's like they're not they might not like it because they're not thinking like me. Like I say, okay, I shoot that, and then I can color grade this. I can a slow motion if I'm doing video. I have all this stuff, even like special effects or whatever it is that the production I'm doing, and I'm just so reluctant to show them because I always have to say now it's going to be different in post. I always got to tell them. I feel like I got to tell them because if they look like that's it, But then when they see it, it's like wow, wow.
The difference is in. I noticed Jeffrey too said Kiara looks really comfortable in that shot. Long-term shooting together will do that. Yeah, and that's because we have such a great relationship, the pair of us. So, it was very, very a comfortable shoot. So it was great. I mean,
she actually left. Sorry.
No, I was saying it wasn't. She was partly nude, but she had I don't know what they are. They're like it's like almost like a Band-Aid. I don't know if you know what that is, Aaron, like a Band-Aid that they stick over the nipple. So you sort of don't see anything there, and she would cover everything up. So in the video, you won't be able to see anything. So it was more like, even though she looked like she was nude, I mean, if you're looking at this one here, if we looked at the other one, open with preview.
I lost my audio there for a second. I thought you stopped talking.
If we look at this, share screen, we go application window, and that one. If you look at this, let me just hide that thing. She looks like she's fully nude, but she's not. So, I mean, I was sort of respectful in that regard. And to be completely honest, a lot of people like Ben does amazing nude photography. Ben, who you know as well, Aaron, is amazing at nudes.
Everything on the ladies.
Yeah, he is terrific at it. It's not something that I'm really that interested in, but I did this for Kiara because she asked me to do it. And it's sort of more implied nude, that we're looking at there. That's but it's beautiful. So
very, very nice.
Apart from that, that's about it. Norm said it's the internet bandwidth, lots of instability around the world. Yeah, I think, like I said, there was attacks yesterday, particularly in the US. I can't remember what it's called, a DDoS attack or something, where they spam multiple sites, something, and it crashes areas. So it might be still down a little bit from that, because apparently there's a lot of, like Rob said, there's a lot of buffering and freezing tonight. So, nothing we can do about that. So apart from that, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week. If you haven't subscribed to Aron's channel, new one, obviously do that, and I'll put the link down below so that you can subscribe to that as well. And I will be back on Saturday probably for the live, and I'll might be able to show you some images straight out of the camera on Saturday as well.
That would be cool.
In the live of how the lens has gone. So, we'll sort of see how it goes. David Miyake, it's okay. I don't think Ike's been in here today, actually. He must be out there shooting or something.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen him.
Yeah, so I haven't seen him today, which is unusual because he usually does pop in. Apart from that, guys, we'll see you all in the next show. We'll be back again live next week doing this. Just love it with Aron. So, hopefully we'll be able to continue each week unless Aron has problems.
Hard drive failures, man. And busy.
Yeah, I love it. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a great few days.